Ever wonder why some towns just, work, they've got that vibe, people seem happy, and it's like they're planning for the future, not just getting by, what's the secret sauce? And then you've got places like, well, ever heard of Grand Brute, Newfoundland?
Can't say I have.
Yeah, most haven't. It's basically a ghost town. Shows up in the textbook, actually. Point being, some places thrive, others not so much. What makes the difference?
Ah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it's one that city planners, geographers, they've been wrestling with for ages. It's way more than just like looking pretty or having enough parks.
Right, like, don't get me wrong, I love a good park, a cute coffee shop on every corner, but that doesn't magically fix everything. So today we're going deep on what really makes or breaks a place. Livability and sustainability, big concepts. Luckily, Chapter 12 of Making Connections is going to be our guide.
Our trusty roadmap. And you're right, those terms get thrown around a lot, but this chapter digs into what they actually mean for our cities and towns.
And for us, the people living in them, it's not just about appearances.
Absolutely not. We're talking about the nitty-gritty, the economy humming along, people genuinely enjoying where they live, not just surviving, but thriving and doing it all without, completely trashing the environment. Oh, and not just for us today, but for future generations too.
Right. Gotta think long term. Speaking of which, this chapter throws out terms like carrying capacity.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Makes sense. Gotta have limits. That's essentially how much a piece of land can handle, right? Resources, people, all that jazz.
Exactly. Imagine a city-sized game of how many people can fit on this raft before it sinks. But instead of sinking, we're talking about running out of resources, overwhelming infrastructure, or just making the place, well, unlivable.
Not the goal.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Think about your own city for a second. How many more people could it realistically handle without making life worse for everyone already there?
Tough question, right? That's carrying capacity in a nutshell.
Makes you think twice about those growth at all costs arguments, doesn't it? But okay, it's not just about how many people, it's about how all that space is actually used. The book keeps mentioning land use conflict. Sounds dramatic, like something out of a movie. Well, it can be. Picture this. You've got a big, noisy factory plunked right next to a quiet residential neighborhood. On one hand, jobs, economic boost. On the other hand, you've now got noise pollution, maybe some interesting smells wafting through your window at dinner time. That's a land use conflict in action. Different needs, different visions for the same space.
Yeah, recipe for not so neighborly vibes for sure. So let's game this out. Let's say you are in charge. Forget existing cities with all their baggage. You're building a brand new one from scratch. What's on your must-have list? What makes a place actually livable?
Ooh, good question. And wouldn't you know it, the book has an activity for that. Figure 12.1 lays out a whole bunch of characteristics of livable places, some obvious, some not so much.
Okay, so basic stuff first.
Yeah.
Healthcare, good schools, those are non-negotiable, right?
Absolutely. Foundations of a healthy, functioning community.
But it also mentions things like, walkability, a sense of community, even, get this, opportunities for personal growth. Like, can you picture yourself thriving there, not just making do?
Exactly. It's about the whole package. Some things are needs, like you said, gotta have them. Others are more like wants, those nice-to-haves that make a place sing. That indie bookstore you mentioned, a vibrant art scene, a good farmer's market, those are all part of it.
Makes it a place people actually want to be, which I'm guessing is important if you're building a city from scratch. Now, get this. Did you know that 1/3 of urban land is dedicated to transportation?
No way. Seriously, a full third.
Yep. Roads, parking lots, the whole shebang.
Wild, right?
It really highlights how much space our car-centric culture eats up.
It's true. And it highlights how, well, interconnected this all is. Think about it.
Yeah.
Bad transportation messes with everything. Longer commutes, more air pollution, businesses struggle because it's hard for people to get around.
Not to mention what those giant parking lots do to the scenery. So are we saying everyone needs to cram into tiny apartments to avoid this? Where does density fit into all of this? Is that the magic bullet for making a city more sustainable?
Ah, the million-dollar question part two. Are those high-rise condos the solution or part of the problem? Take a look at figures 12.7 and 12.8 in the text. Talk about a tale of two cities.
Whoa, yeah. One's all spread out, single-family homes, probably a car in every driveway. The other one looks like something out of Star Wars, buildings practically touching the sky. So which one's the winner? Which one's more sustainable?
Tricky, right? The book actually lays out both sides of the argument, which I appreciate. High-density living can be incredibly efficient. Think about it. Less land used per person, more people using public transit, everything's closer together so you don't have to drive as much.
Sounds great in theory. But
There's always a but. High density also means potential for overcrowding. Services get strained, green spaces get squeezed, and let's be honest, some people just don't want to live in a concrete jungle. It can feel a bit intense.
finding that sweet spot, that balance, that's the key then. Now, here's something that blew my mind when I was reading this chapter. The age of a neighborhood really shapes its entire design.
Isn't that fascinating? Makes sense when you think about it.
Yeah.
A neighborhood built before cars existed is going to look very different from one designed in the age of the automobile.
Right, like comparing apples and oranges. The book has these great visuals. Figures 1211 and 1212 really show it clearly. You've got the classic grid pattern of older cities designed for walking, streetcars, that kind of thing.
Versus that more sprawling, car-dependent layout of the Garden City model, cul-de-sacs everywhere. Fascinating how history shapes our present, isn't it?
Totally. It's like
Yeah.
each neighborhood has its own story etched into its streets. Speaking of stories, let's talk about where we BUI things, because commerce, it's not just about shopping, right? It's about the lifeblood of a city.
It's about the economic ecosystem, right? How money flows, how jobs are created.
No.
The book actually makes this really interesting distinction. It talks about lower order versus higher order goods and services.
Okay, sounds a little jargony, but I'm intrigued. Break it down for us.
It's actually pretty simple. Think about it like this. You need bread pretty regularly.
Yeah, I'll live without it.
Exactly. So bread, that's a lower order good. Something you buy frequently, essential, usually pretty easy to find no matter where you live. But then there's, say, that awesome concert you go to a few times a year that's a higher order good or service.
Okay, I'm seeing the distinction. But how does this tie into making a place livable?
It's all about the economic heartbeat of a city. A good mix of those everyday needs and the special occasion stuff, that's what attracts residents, creates a diverse job market, keeps money flowing locally. It's also about access, though. Can everyone in the city access these different levels of services no matter where they live or how much money they make?
Right, because a city that only works for the wealthy, that's not really working, is it? So we've got all these needs, these wants, these historical quirks. How do we actually design a city to make it all work? Isn't that where zoning comes in?
Ding, ding, ding. Zoning might sound dry, but it's like the unsung hero of making cities functional. It's basically a set of rules for how land can be used, what goes where. Think of it like, city planning meets SimCity, but instead of just plopping down buildings willy-nilly,
Yeah.
you've got to consider the impact on actual humans, businesses, the environment.
Right. Makes sense. You don't want like a heavy metal factory right next door to an elementary school.
Exactly. And the textbook actually had this great example, a pig slaughterhouse smack dab in the middle of downtown Toronto.
Wait, seriously.
Oh, yeah, it's in there. Figure 1219 if you want to see the visual representation. Apparently this thing had been there for ages, but as the city grew around it, you can imagine the conflict. Suddenly you've got thousands of pigs.
And thousands of not-so-thrilled residents.
Exactly. It really highlights how crucial planning is, but also how tricky it can be to predict the future. What works for one generation might be a nightmare for the next.
Totally. And it reminds us that these aren't just abstract concepts we're talking about. They have real-life, smelly consequences. So, okay, big picture, when we talk about livable, sustainable cities, what are we really talking about? What should our listeners take away from all of this?
Well, for me, it boils down to balance. Meeting the needs and desires of today's residents while also thinking about what kind of city we want to leave for the next generation. It's like walking a tightrope.
And there's no one-size-fits-all answer, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because livable means different things to different people. What matters most to you in a city? Is it walkability, access to nature, maybe a killer food scene or a thriving arts community? That sense of belonging, of community.
Those are good questions. Questions we should all be asking as we think about the future of our cities, the places where we spend our lives. It's about being intentional both in our own choices and in those bigger picture decisions that shape our communities. Speaking of which, this chapter really got me thinking about all those new cities popping up around the world, especially with populations growing. Are we actually putting these lessons into practice?
Now that is the million-dollar question, isn't it? We have this amazing opportunity to learn from the past, to avoid repeating the same mistakes. We can design communities that are both livable and sustainable from day one.
Imagine that: eco-friendly buildings, renewable energy powering everything, transportation systems that actually make sense. It's like we could be building a legacy.
Exactly. And it all starts with paying attention to the decisions being made right now. The land use policies, the development projects, even something as simple as advocating for a new park in your neighborhood. Those things matter.
Because those decisions, They impact our daily lives in a million little ways.
They really do. And here's the good news. You have a voice in those decisions. You can be a part of shaping your community, of making it a place where you and future generations can thrive.
Love that message. So how do we do it? Where do we even start?
It starts with awareness, right? Just opening our eyes and really seeing our cities, our neighborhoods, not just moving through them on autopilot.
Becoming urban observers, in a way.
Exactly. Paying attention to what works, what doesn't, what could be better. That's how we become active participants instead of passive residents.
And maybe, just maybe, we can start to see the possibilities, right? Instead of just the problem.
100%. It's about shifting our perspective from someone should really fix this
Yeah.
to maybe we can be part of the solution.
Love that energy. Because at the end of the day, cities, they're about people, aren't they?
They are. It's easy to get caught up in the zoning maps and the traffic patterns and the economic theories, but we can't forget that we're talking about people's lives, their homes, their communities, their day-to-day experiences.
That walk to the park with their kids, the commute to work, even just stepping outside your door and feeling that sense of belonging, that's what makes a city truly livable.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's about creating spaces where people feel connected, both to each other and to the place itself.
And that's where I think this whole conversation comes full circle. It's not just about designing buildings and roads and infrastructure. It's about designing experiences. Experiences that foster that sense of community, that promote well-being, that make us actually excited to get up in the morning and, engage with our surroundings.
And those experiences, those positive interactions, they don't just happen by accident. They're the result of countless decisions, big and small, made by planners, politicians, developers, and yes, everyday citizens.
Which is why, dear listener, your voice matters. Don't just observe your city, participate in shaping it. Go to those community meetings, even if they seem boring. Voice your concerns, share your vision for the future, even if you think no one's listening.
Because the most livable, the most sustainable, the most inspiring cities are those created collaboratively, where everyone feels heard and valued.
So go forth, make your voice heard, and let's build a future where cities aren't just places we live in, but places we truly, deeply love.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive into what makes a community tick. Until next time, keep those brains buzzing, keep those conversations going, and keep those cities thriving.